what do we have here? We have the old-time F7 Santa Fe color scheme, Super Chief, and we have some old-time refrigerator cars following along, including a caboose. And we're running this on the Peninsula Corridor, which is outside of San Francisco. And I've had a lot of frustrations. This is all done using a scenario planner. I've had a lot of frustrations using a scenario planner. And as I go through it, if anybody can help, any clarifications on the things I talk about, please comment and clarify things. But I'm going to do the best I can to share with you some of the things that we're able to overcome. And some of the limitations, one is no static cars on these scenario plan routes, no permissions to get out of one engine and use another, no weather effects can be used with the scenario planner, and engines are married to the route that they use, at least the assets are, that you can select with an engine. And so I'm going to talk about how to overcome each one of those today. But first, let's get into what we can do using the scenario planner. And hopefully it's not too quick. Get into the Creators Club, select Scenario Planner. First thing you do is select your route. I did Peninsula Corridor already. Let's go, and I started another one at Crane Creek and called it Crane and named it that by creating a new one. And once you do that, I've already set up a couple services in this particular scenario. And I noticed once I set it up, I'm not able to use it the way I hope to. I'm starting on a far east end of Crane Creek, and here's my two engines I want to use for the service, the running route. And then here's this other service I put in there for static cars. And that's how you put in static cars. You just put another service in with the cars you want on the track you want. Now I want to be able to get a hold of those static cars to add them to the engines that are going to be running the route. And you see there's red signals on the one side of the yard and red signals on the other side. This is a frustration, and I'm going to have to get out of this and start over again and see if I can do this again on the west side of the route. So what I'm going to do, it's unfortunate because I wanted to start over here. And if there's anybody who knows how to get away with this, that'd be great. Got to get over and overcome the signals, the red signals. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and get back. I'll keep this scenario, but I'm going to go ahead and edit it and delete the two services I've already put in there simply by clicking on it and then selecting delete. Delete that one, and I deleted both of them. And I'm going to start over again, but I've already named this Crane, but I'm going to add a new service now. Looking for, now this is the tricky part. You got to kind of go along the route and find the place you want to start. And then you select the destination. So you're confirming a start marker and confirming a destination. And looks like I selected Potash Long Siding 1 is all the way down on the west end. That's good. And confirm the path. Potash to Thompson main line. Doesn't take me all the way through, but it's as far as it will let me take, and that's a frustration, but it takes me pretty far. So that's going to work for me. And confirm instructions, and basically it just tells you where your start is and your end. If you're doing a passenger the instructions may be spots along the route you can stop out, and you have those little check boxes. But I'm doing a freight, and I just want to be able to run the long ride. First thing I want to put in is my static cars. Now, you can't just put in static cars, so the workaround for that is you grab a hold of the engine type that is married to the kind of cars you want. So I want the old-time cars that you find, like 1970 refrigerator and box cars. You find them on the clinch field. And, of course, you have to have these downloadable contents. But I'll give this a name, and I'm just going to have reefer cars on there. I am going to start at 12 noon for this service. I'm going to not have a pilot. I'm going to have it to be freight. By starting at 12 noon, it'd be hours after. That service won't take off until hours after my actual service is going to begin with my piloted engines. So I'm going to go ahead and select the siding right next to it, siding 2, add the service, and confirm that. And it's going to take it all the way to Brindle Yard Track 3. And that doesn't really take it as far as I want, but it's pretty far, as I said. Actually, the first service I put in with the box cars, it didn't really matter where that one went because I don't intend for it to go anywhere. This is the one that has the engines I want to drive, and this is the one, and I don't want it to stop anywhere, so I'm not checking those boxes for instructions. It's just a freight, and I can go as far as I want with it. In this case, I'm going to pick the paint scheme that the Santa Fe F7 with the ABBA. That gives me 2 engines and 2 dummies that I can use and have access. And this takes care of the fact that you can't get in one engine and use another one. If you set multiple engines to your pilot, then you can separate those engines and use them all. And that's a good workaround. So I got that in effect, and I hit play, and let's see what happens. All right, here we are, and I find myself side by side with the one service with my box cars and the player service, or the one with the pilot selected, with these 2 engines and 2 dummies back to back. And I'll check and make sure I don't have any singles that are going to block me. Looks like I can go all the way down the end, and I have points that are manual, which means I can move these around as I will. So what I'm going to do is as simple as splitting these 2 engines, the 2 F7s, Santa Fe's, and using one of them as a shunter or switcher. I'll split it right in half, so it'll be AB split in half with the BA, if you would. And then I get in here. Now what I found is when you first start out, don't touch this while they're all connected. If you start messing with this while they're all connected, it'll tell the other engine to be to act like a dummy, like the dummies are. So we just get out of that and split them in 2, and then later we can come back and get that thing up and running. Yeah, just make sure I split it at the right spot. So go ahead and uncouple, and now these are 2 separate engines that I could use. And I'll be using this one as my switcher. Now I can turn on the fuel generator and the fuel pump and the running engine and all the typical switches that you would normally turn on to get this F7 going. Put in the handle. Select 2 because I got an engine and a dummy. Make sure it's a freight. Cut it in so the brakes are cut in. Turn on the gauge lights, of course, and as always, free up the local brake. The automatic brake, so you get air into the brake pipe and system. And we want to select this to release the brake. And off we go. So just to show you, I'm using these two as a switcher. My plan is to run around to grab these reefer cars, just a handful of them for demonstration purposes, along with the caboose, and pull it on back to the other two engines to run the route. So there's going to be a little bit of editing here, so you don't have to sit through a half hour of me running up and down the rails. But as you can see, the service with the Clinchfield engines that has all the boxcars I want to add to my Santa Fe engines, even though they're all F7s, though that service is in a sense acting as my static boxcars, because it's 6 o'clock in the morning right now, and that service isn't going to take off until 12 noon. And you can set it late in the day if you want, whatever works for you, but I don't have to worry about that service going anywhere for a while. And so I'm going to go ahead and hijack the cars from it and bring it back to the service I want to match up with. Funny thing is, the game will consider this an invalid formation because these F7 Santa Fe's are, in the game's mind of view, are matched with the modern day boxcars, not the Clinchfield ones. So at the point where I get to the end of the route and finish to my final destination with the Santa Fe units carrying my old-time boxcars, instead of saying we'll say objective complete, but it's going to say invalid formation. But it will tell you everything it normally tells you. And it does not give you the opportunity to free roam, which is kind of a bummer. One of the other workarounds is, if you want to free roam in a sense, you're limited to, and of course the Crane Creek, there's not a lot of, it's a single track line, there's not a lot of options here. But I need to get out now. I passed the points. I switched the points. I didn't want you to suffer through me walking back and forth, but I'm back in the engine now. Whenever you get up and get out of an engine, or if you have a worker that's a conductor that's back there working, you always want to turn the generator field switch off. It's part of the 3-point protection. You put the brake on, you put it in neutral, and 3, you turn off the field generator switch. But now I'm back on, and I'm going to reverse it, and we're going to go up the other track and get our cars. So what I was saying is that there's not a lot of free roam opportunity once you go down this line to the other end. You're kind of stuck. You can't reverse, because then you go past. Now, this whole Crane Creek is kind of nice from this area here all the way to the west side until you go all the way back to the east side main line. is free without any signals. At one point, I call it dark territory because there's nothing back here but these local trains running, and you know, no other trains are coming through. Okay, now we just have to select how many box cars we want, in this case refrigerator cars, and uncouple them. So, you know, in a sense, I can go back and forth up until the point where I get all the way to the east side where the main line is. Once I pass that main line signal, which will be green because I, you know, selected that as part of my service. Once I pass it, it'll turn red and I'll never be able to go back again. So, on some other routes, one of the things I do is, if I have a service like that and there's other manual switches, I go down some other tracks and I can play around that way. But it gets a little difficult depending on what manual switches are available, what tracks are available. And so, you know, every route's a little different that way. But the cool thing is, if you want to run this beautiful Santa Fe paint scheme with any hopper cars, box cars, any kind of cars you want, this is how you do it. You just cut in the siding right next to it. The service with the engines that would normally take those cars, and then you just kind of hijack them, steal them, and take them for yourself. I have had difficulty trying to make this work with passenger cars, and I hadn't tried it here, but something about the scenario planner, it kind of outsmarts me, or it knows what I'm selecting and doesn't allow me to select anything I want. But maybe some of you could figure that out, because I would love to throw some passenger cars in the siding next to it. I tried to do that in the Peninsula Corridor, because the Peninsula Corridor has all those passenger stations, and I could check off as part of the work instructions to stop at what stations I wanted. But I wasn't able to get the passenger service to be anywhere near the same siding as excuse me, these F7 units. And there's always a red signal between two where I can't use them. So I've been editing out what I can here, and you can see I'm now going to connect these two. You know, it's funny, the animation shows that the hand is open, that the knuckle is open, but I noticed this on, I don't know what it is. It's usually just the old-time cars that has this problem. Then I opened it up manually here. But these old-time cars don't always show the animation or configuration on the knuckle coupler the way they always are in reality. Just a little bit more here and we'll be connected. So hopefully this is all making sense. What I'm doing here in order to get the cars I want with the engine I want on the route that I want, overcoming some of the limitations. Put this unit into kind of a standby mode. Technically, this unit is not connected to the forward units now on the east side of the train. So Right now, if you look at my refrigerator car's caboose, I got a dummy and a Santa Fe engine on the caboose side, and I got a dummy and Santa Fe engine on the front side going east. So once I got this all shut down, and since these are not directly connected, this is before the time of DP, distributed power. I don't know how to shut that door. I don't know. Maybe you have to climb up and shut it. I don't know. Anyway, I'll spare you the long walk. Now I'm on the east side and I'm getting in this. And what I forgot to show in the video is I disconnected the caboose from the other two engines. And what do you think you're doing there, bud? Kick him out of there. Close the door behind him. And get this one set up now. There's been an interesting problem I've noticed with these F7s, that you turn the gauge lights on, you save the program, when you come back in, the gauge lights are not shown to be on, even though the knob is on. You have to turn it off and turn it back on again. Maybe some of you have noticed that as well, but I hadn't saved yet, so that's not the case here. Okay, get my fuel pump on, the fuel generator on, the engine running, put it in forward. Select 2 here because I got the forward engine and the dummy, the A and the B unit. I got this, release the automatic brake so we get air in the brake pipe. And give it a little throttle. And we should be on our way. This method does require a little yard work. So for me to set this up, and you see the caboose is free of the other engines. For me to set this up, I had to use that engine there as a switcher. Steal from the static cars, or the other service in reality. Pull the cars off I want, attach them to the engine I want, and so I had to do that work in the game rather than in the scenario planner. It's just the workaround to overcome some of the limitations. Once I get to this point, I'm happy with the whole setup. I could go ahead and stop it here, save it, take a nice picture of it, and then come back another day and run my scenario from the last save. Here we go, save it, go back, and come back another day and run it. And then you could do the resume last save. Now, how do you change the weather? You go select the timetable from your route. You make and don't select an engine, do the on foot. Change the weather to whatever you want. Just for kicks, I'll put it on. Don't even say play. You don't even have to say play. I put it on foggy. And then you're back. You don't select anything. Go all the way back till you can select the scenario planner and then hit play from the scenario you created. And as you can see, it'll start up in the fog. Another workaround. So that answers the limitation of how to start your scenarios that you create in any weather you want, how to use any engine you want, and how to use more than one engine that you can climb in and out of, and how to drop static cars. Now, if you have a bigger yard, you can select multiple services with the different kind of cars. If I had a yard that had 3 sidings or 4 sidings, I could have selected 2 other services, put some hopper cars in there, you know, either open ones or closed, you know, gondolas, whatever you like, and then have a little bit more interest in the yard. And then if you're going down a long route, you can put some of those services somewhere else on the route that you would drive past. Unfortunately, each one of those is going to require the service is going to require an engine with the cars. So you can't just have static cars without some sort of engine, and then you got to have those services start at a point hours and hours after your gameplay, so they don't take off on you. So those are the workarounds right now. I would say it would certainly be nice if you didn't have to do things like this with the workarounds. It would be nice, even nicer, if we didn't have to poke around the scenario planner locations to figure out where they are in the map. I wish the map would tell us what location and what track number was what. That sure would be helpful. Hopefully this has been helpful to you, and hopefully you enjoyed, and catch you next time.